just want to start off by saying how awesome a crowd that was. Even rewatching it, it's just it's a huge advantage for us, especially around the league. You don't see many. You don't see anybody with that level of crowd around our league, and so if you can just, I'm gonna send my plea out. I made some deals with the student section on Saturday. Hopefully they're listening or watching this. They told me they would be back Wednesday and Friday. So I hope we can get as much as we can get for Wednesday for a big rivalry game with us and ODU. And then for Friday with senior night honoring Peyton McDaniel, Shanti Barnes, and Regina Walton. So I really hope we can get a great crowd for our last week here. So that's what I'll start with. And Shane's got the mic.
Yeah, I guess let's talk a little bit about ODU. Obviously, you played them not too long ago. You mentioned the other day where you had these quick turnarounds here a couple times this week, and it's a different feeling when maybe you weren't as pleased with how you played at App State, and then come back and were able to kind of put it on them a little bit. Talk about kind of trying to get them ready after really kind of cruising to a victory down there.
Yeah, I mean it's a good question, right? I hope this team is more mature than having it get them going for the last regular season week of the year. But it's tough, man. I mean, the injury report does not get smaller towards the end of the year, right? Bodies are getting tired. So our challenge here is we do have 2 days, but similar to what we did. Coming back from App, we got back super late. People were tired, so we did a lot of film stuff 2 days before ODU, and then did a 1-day physical prep for ODU. I don't know what we're debating that right now, how much physicality we can get out of them today. And as silly as it is, having Kylie Marshall out, even she's going to be out the next couple of days, it affects practice, right? It affects the reps in practice too. So, I think. There's plenty. We just watched the breakdown of App State. There's plenty that we didn't do well. I'm telling you, there's plenty we didn't do well. And we got. But again, that's the debate, right? Our transition defense to me wasn't good enough in the App game. It's going to be a big key against ODU. But transition defense in practice requires a lot of sprinting back and forth, up and down. How much of that can we do today without a Kylie Marshall too, right? To balance out some of those guards and their reps and their bodies, because Bree Robinson's body, Peyton's body, Zakiya Barnes, they just played so many minutes. So that's kind of the debate. But I do think as a group, I think we'll be ready to rock for ODU for a lot of different reasons, but. I think it's just one that it's meaningful to us and always will be. In-state is always a big thing for me, that. But I think we'll be ready to go regardless of the last outcome and how we played in the scoreboard. I think this team has really understood kind of what we're chasing and how important each game is, right? And if you end up losing a game, it's not like you're going to drop to 8th, right? Where we are right now, we're 5th, right? And so you can't go lower than that. But the idea is hang tight, win these 2 games, and hopefully something will happen that we can't control, but hopefully something will happen. So I think the maturity of this group, understanding what we have to get done to beat ODU, I think they'll be ready to go for that. But yeah, it's not quite as easy as an escape at App State, right, to get them going and know how close that margin is where maybe you could lose a game. Obviously, we played well enough to make the score what it was at home, but I really do. There's plenty to get better when you're watching that film, I promise.
You mentioned the transition defense, and I was wondering how much of a concern that was for you that I think it was Perisic in particular she'd kind of just leak out, almost cherry picking a few times. Yeah. So was that a huge concern, or was it more just like, hey, you have to be aware of this? I know they don't typically like to run like that, but
you just gotta if you look at our, one of the things, it's not perfect, but our synergy ratings, right? So we go into synergy a lot, and it rates your defense, it rates your baseline out of bounds defense, sideline defense, etc. And our half-court defense is very good. It borderlines on very good and excellent throughout the year. And so, all right, if that's that, and we've gone from, now we've changed transition defense from poor to now we're below average. Okay, so like, here we go, Shane. But it's like I don't quite get the why. It's really what it is. We could go out and practice and do it for a 15-minute session and look great. But what happens is in a game, when you're playing 32 minutes in a game, you get tired, you lose your focus a little bit, and now your first 3 steps aren't perfect. And I think for us to win this tournament, it has to be good. You talk about most every team in this league wants to play fast, right? And so the Troys, the Ark States, right, the Georgia Southerns, they all want to go, right? And so you have to be able to work on this. ODU wants to go, and so it's our first 3 steps. Like we have given Zakai and Bree no offensive rebounding responsibility. It's supposed to be getting back and getting people organized and kind of quarterback and what it looks like. So it's always something we've circled. It's helped us a little bit when we've had an organized transition defense transition defense structure. That really helped us against Virginia Tech. So I think as a staff, that's what we were just talking about is can we make sure that's in the plan each game to make sure we know what we're doing, at least hold them accountable to, instead of just, hey, sprint and talk, let's get a little bit more detailed with it. I think that can help us because it is a big thing for ODU. App State, it was good. They had us mismatched. We made some mistakes, letting people run past us. You should never let somebody run past you to the rim to stop the ball. It's just not how it's going to be. So, we got plenty to work on.
Well, I'll ask you about something you're better at.
I like
that area around the charge arc. I think teams are shooting like 40-some% against you. You're really good defending that. Like, is that a matter of Grace and Brianna and like Ashanti, like just being really good defenders in the post? Like, why are you so good in that area?
I think it's I give Nicole Razor the credit, man. We do a drill. It's called Smash and Sink drill. We do it nearly every day. And so most of the time it ends up being your big that's rotating over. They're defending the post, but a lot of times defending the drive too down there, right? And so Grace coming over, BMAC coming over, Barnes coming over, but you need a sink in that too, right? So they come over, somebody's got to cover the post that was just left, right? And I think those two things are like really, really important because points in the paint, I think, are really important. They're usually a pretty high percentage. So it's something we've worked on from day one. And I give Razor the credit for that because I did not have that drill in my bag. I had shell drill, I did some other stuff, but she really elevated us with that, and we've been really good with her on staff with that. She gets creative with how you want to do it. Maybe it's a 5-out, right, where it's more of an Ark State, Coastal Carolina 5-out. Maybe it's a traditional post where you're going to have to, like, you can sink, but you got to be physical. That's a Southern Miss, right, where that 5 is huge. You better make sure you're sinking, and Z and Regina got to really, we say, like, butt to their knees type of stuff. So I give Razor a lot of credit for that. And I do think making sure we kind of own that part of the paint is really important for us. And again, it's changed a little bit, right? Because I don't think we're defending the 3 as well as we've done in some years past. 31%. That's the last 5 games, sorry. Let's fact check this, Corey. 33% for the year, right? That's not generally, we usually keep it under 30, but it's a give and take, right? If you're making sure we're really hard to score in the paint, yeah, you might give up that drift 3 or that one more pass 3. And right now we're okay with that because I do think owning the paint is a really important piece for us. But again, I give Nicole Razor a ton of credit for that.
You've been very honest with us throughout the years about things that happen in Sunbelt meetings, thoughts on MAC Sunbelt Challenge. I believe last year you said that you liked this new tournament format in its second year. But you flash back 3 years ago, a 5-loss team was the number 1 seed. Now a 5 or 4-loss team might be the 5 seed. And 3 years ago, that may not have been a big difference in the format because you had to play 4 games as opposed to 3. Now it seems to be a bigger differential if you're the 5 or a 4 or a 2. You still on board with the tournament format and how it is?
Well, look, I can't change my opinion based on where we land in the standings, right? Like the whole goal of that tournament format, which is imperfect, and I'm gonna come back to that point right there, but it's imperfect because how unbalanced the schedule is, right? That's a big issue for us in the Sun Belt meetings. I'm actively trying to fix that part because it's going to be unbalanced regardless. But I'm vehemently against not being able to play Troy. I think that doesn't make any sense. Troy's in the top 4 of this league. It could help us with a tie break, so you don't play Troy. Okay. But the tournament format, I still think the tournament format should protect the best teams in the league. And that, to me, we have proved right now on paper, right? Georgia Southern is technically in the Sun Belt a better team than us because they have 2 losses, right? That's how it works. We lost the games we lost. That's all okay with me, right? Now, I still think differently overall, but as of right now, in the 16, I guess most people played 16 Sun Belt games, they've proved better than us so far, and that's okay. And they should have the advantage that tournament format gives you. Now, the biggest gap, right, is not like you're always trying CAA or regular. You want to be in the top 4. Top 4, you get the bye. You only have to play 3 games, but all 4 of those teams have to play 3 games. The difference here is it's drastic from the 5 to the 1 and 2. Which, again, gives them the best advantage because of all this work, this huge resume that they earned. They earned that. They earned, if Georgia Southern ends up being 16-2, they earned that, right? If we are 14-4, we earned that. So that's where our bet is. We're going to lay in the bed we made, and that's okay. So I'm more, for the future, I'm more interested in fixing the balance of the regular season schedule than the tournament format. Now, I think they're hand in hand, and I think we've talked about a lot of different things. And the hard part is we have to agree with the men because the tournament goes with the men regardless. So if we're against it and the men want it, if we want the same tournament and the men want a different one, we're at odds here. I don't know what they'll end up deciding, and that's fine. But no, I still think I've always been a believer, and part of that is because we've generally been on the top of the pyramid in that sense of how is, it's always that game. You're playing the 9 seed in the first round. They just won a game. You're like, oh my gosh, how are we going to, like, it helps. When Courtney Banghart was at Princeton and they didn't have a tournament, she was like, why do you guys have a tournament? For what? You think the 14 seed really wants to be down in Pensacola for that one game? No, they want to go on. She's like, forget it. If you've earned the regular season title, you get to go. And there's merit to that. And I know the Ivies had changed. They've gone to a 4-team tournament, which I don't disagree with either. But I can't disagree. So I'm still on board because I can't disagree just because right now we're in 5th place, which is crazy to me. So good question, but that's my honest answer.
How would you change the format of the schedule in the regular season then? Would you like to play more West teams? How would you like to
I'm glad you asked, Dave. I'm glad you asked because somebody wants to hear my opinion. I think the A10 model is we've done all this work. Alex, my director of ops, has done all this work mapping this out. The A10 model, you play everybody once. Okay, so there's your 13 games, home and away. That's the disadvantage of that. It will be unbalanced, but everybody you play once, 13 games. You have a rival. No matter what, that you're going to play twice. Even if they're at the bottom and you're at the top, doesn't matter. So that would be ODU for us, right? There's your 14 games. The other 4 games, regardless of West or East, are the teams closer to you in the predicted standings at the beginning of the year. So let's use, I don't know the predicted order finished exactly right now, but I know Troy and Ark State were both in the top 3. So we would play Troy twice. We play Ark State twice. ODU twice. We'll pick one, Georgia Southern. I don't know who was picked 5th or what. That doesn't necessarily matter. Southern Miss maybe. And so your top teams are playing each other twice. And again, is it imperfect? Of course, right? Last year, Ark State was predicted 13th, and they ended up winning the league. Okay, there's going to be some variance in that. That's fine. I think if people are honest in April about where they think their team is, and that's one of the gripes that the Sun Belt has, is that it's impossible. We have so much turnover. I think if you asked Destiny Rogers when she was picked 13th, are they going to finish 13th? She might disagree with that. So, okay. Now look, you're talking about an A10 model that produced a 2-bid league last year. Okay, Richmond did not win their conference tournament, and Richmond got an 8 seed. Now, resume-wise, I don't think we've earned an 8 seed, right? But I mean, there's a mid-major league right there that's showing you a very unbalanced schedule that is getting two teams in the NCAA tournament. So I think it's worth exploring. I think it's worth deep diving into it. That's my opinion.
Are people receptive to that in the Sun Belt?
I'm going to leave that right there. That's my opinion, Dave. That's my opinion. I think we should follow. I think the A10's model has proved it works now. And Keith made the point, like, does it work because Richmond had a great non-conference schedule? Or does it work because they're in league beating George Mason twice and St. Joe's, right? It's like, I don't know the data on that. And so part of our meeting, I said, I need to find some data that can prove that, because I think there's a benefit if we play Troy twice, even if we lose. And I'm asking for it. But, like, I just think there's a benefit of playing Ark State twice. I mean, we played Ark State at their place, and Georgia Southern Marshall get them at home, right? There's a difference in that advantage. But that won't entirely go away. But the teams that are projected the highest will have a home and home. And it's similar to what, if I'm not mistaken, the NFL does this too, right? If you finish 4th in the AFC West, you play all the 4th, right? Like, and that's maybe how the Patriots got to the Super Bowl. All right, because they were, but, like, I think it helps a South Alabama too that's picked 14th or whatever. They don't have to play James Madison twice. They play 13, 12, maybe not 11, but 10 and 9, because there's a way you can figure this out. And that's my brilliant idea. So do I think they've listened? Yeah, I do. I think they've listened. I don't know what will happen. But I think it's a good idea.
Back to your team.
Good.
Offensively, you've been pretty efficient here of late. Assists are pretty high. You haven't taken as many threes. Mm-hmm. Is that by design, or have you just have the kids kind of figured that out on their own, that let's attack a little bit more, let's share the basketball, not shoot as many threes?
No, I think what we've done a really good job with is just taking what's there. There is no game plan for us that's like, hey, we're gonna go all paint, no, less threes. Like, it's like look, Bree Robinson's a great person to talk about with this, because I think right now she's creating so much with a drive. Now she gets in there, we're working on just decision making. Is it Grace? Is it Zakiya? Right? Like, what's the next right play? And I think she continues to get better with that. She's done a great job driving and creating, maybe not an assist, right? Just creating the next closeout. Zakiya, I think, has been absolutely brilliant with no-look passes, finding people underneath, stuff like that. But that's what it is, right? If I got a ton of respect for Zakiya Stevenson on a ball screen. I think she comes off the ball screen. I think it's drive. I think it's post. I think it's Peyton over there, right? I think those decisions she's gotten so much better at. And I think those two, and I'm on those two because I think they're being really good for us. And I think if they're playing well, I think it's really tough to beat. But there's no game plan with our shot selection in that sense. I just think you got to take what they give you. And if you've moved the ball around and we got a wide open three for Delilah, yeah, she's got to knock that down, and we got to go to the glass. Everybody else needs to think it's not going in. But no, there's no emphasis necessarily. It's just making the next right play and trusting each other. And I think the more you do that, the better. And we've talked about ad nauseum. It doesn't matter if the ball's coming over here and somebody else is over here, and you don't have to look and see who it is. Is it a three-point shooter or not a three-point shooter? You make that play and let them make the next decision off of that. So that's something it's not easy. It takes a lot of work to go through and sensitivity in film, right? Because it's like, now it's a bad shot. Not many people like to be told they're shooting a bad shot, right? But there's a better shot right there. And I think that's a really tough balance for a lot of teams.
You mentioned senior night on Friday night, and obviously we know what Peyton means to you and to this program and what she thinks about this program. But how about Ashanti and her development in the 3 years that she's been here and just how much she's matured? Has it even been more than what you saw when she first got here?
Oh, man. Drastic, I think, from year one. And so we got 3 years to talk about, year 1 to year 3, right? I think drastic. And I don't, in her own way, in her own way, in the sense of, I think P has been a person over time that is like really routine, wants feedback almost ad nauseum, right? But routine, feedback, structure, and lives by that, right? And it's like, well, on 2 days before a game, we watch film for half an hour, fill out and Barnes is very different. And I think Barnes finds different ways to get her feedback. Sometimes she doesn't want it, right? And sometimes she is like struggling with it. So it's just a very different human being than Peyton McDaniel. And I think when she first got here, I think just uncertainty. I just think she had been through, a really rough freshman year at ODU. She goes to a junior college, loses in the national championship game, averages a double-double, really good year. But I remember even in her recruiting process, I thought we had her, right? And I'm sitting in the conference room with her and her mom, and I thought we had her. I thought we were going to get a commitment right there. And her mom said, could we just have a minute? And when I came back in, we have this huge conference room table, right? We were sitting at the table, and then we have these 2 chairs over here, kind of like in the corner. And they were sitting in the chairs, and it was like, felt like a mafia movie kind of thing. It was like the lights were off. And it was like, are you really true to your word here? Like, are you going to take care of this girl? Because 2 years ago, she was in a dark place. And like, are you, it was like, look me in my eyes. And of course, man, right? Of course. And we have, and we've been through a lot together, and in a very different way than a Peyton McDaniel. So I think her ability to really shine under the spotlight that's what's turned the corner for me. Is that I think there's times Ashanti Barnes didn't really want that spotlight too much. Like, I want to be good, but I don't want all the stuff that comes with it. And I think this year, of all the years, she's really stepped into that. And she was like, and it's on my mind because we just played App State, but the game down at App State, I mean, she turns it on, man, and there's no stopping her. There's just no stopping her. And I think sometimes that power scares her. But I'm expecting, hopefully we can see a whole nother level here. I think players can be very, very different when they see the light at the end, and the light is you're seeing it right now with a week left here in the conference tournament. So I'm hoping that you're going to see another level from her. But I think she's one of the nicest kids I'll ever coach, and just very, 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 very humble.
We're speaking about Peyton and her routine basketball-wise. How much do you get a chance to see her non-basketball routine? I mean, she's obviously in the Atlantic Union Bank Center a lot when she's not dribbling a basketball, but is that her too off the court?
Yeah, just unique, right? Look, there's a lot of college kids and college student athletes that really want, not in a bad way, okay, but the social part and going to parties and doing that stuff. This just never been her. I can barely get her to watch an R-rated movie sometimes. But yeah, that's what it is. She I think a little bit because of her injury history, she's really that's what's really made her routine a little bit. It's not stronger in that sense, but spending time in the training room, it's hours a day to make sure she can do everything on the floor that she wants to do. I finally moved on from it, but we had a sheet that, was evaluating each game, but had nothing to do with making shots or missing shots. And I think that was a big hurdle for her a couple years ago. And then once we did it, we got to do it every day. We finally said, like, look, man, you're a months away from, to me, being a pro. And you can do your own self-evaluation with this, but like, you're going to be somewhere, and you're going to be talking to people on the phone, but like you're not going to have all the stuff we got right now. So how are you like kind of, it's the last step for her to get up and stand on her own. So it's just she's phenomenal with that. I think training room, I think with extra reps, extra shots. I mean, no one would argue she gets the most extra shots on her team, and it pays. I just think it's a good point because there's so much more to it than her just showing up for practice and or film. And that's what makes her as good as she is.
A couple other questions that came out of earlier comments. Is it tougher for a guard once they get really deep in the paint to make the type of decisions that you were talking about, just simply because of the mass of bodies that get down in there? And with that, does that become a part of how deep you actually need to go on a particular drive or something of that sort?
Yeah. No, I think that's a good question. I think it varies, right? And I think it's so hard, right? Because like I'm sitting here with Bree and we'll be watching film and, hey, on this one, you see the angle right there. I got pause. I got slow-mo, right? I got like this angle here, and she's in the game going really fast, right? And she's got, so, no, I think we talk about sometimes you over-dribbled. Her and Z both have a tendency sometimes to pick their dribble up too early and then get too deep, and I think that's really when you get in trouble. But, no, I think it's trying to keep it as simple as you can keep it is the goal, right? And so you take one dribble left and you see somebody in that gap, man, make it go. Instead of trying to get so deep, and now you maybe have one option or no. But that's the whole thing with film, right? I don't watch film with them, and we as a staff don't watch film with them to just show them they turned it over. It's like, okay, let's talk about your decision right here. And even shots, right? I don't just clip their shots because like, oh, you made this one, you missed this one. It's like, well, what's the read on this? What are you seeing right here? And most of them will have an answer. And again, technology's changed so much, Kurt. They already watch the games by the time they get to me. So I've told players before, you're not allowed to watch a game without me because you draw your own conclusions sometimes. But no, I think that's a big thing. Is just the reads, and I think keeping it simple has worked really well for Bree.
When did you release Z and Bree of going for the offensive board responsibility? When did that take place?
We started this year. Last year was a little bit different. We had Jamia and Rowe too, and we sent Jamia and Rowe back, and we had Z and Bree kind of be ball stoppers. Now because of who we were playing, the possibility of P playing the 2 at the beginning of the year and Bree playing the 1, I want P to go to the offensive glass. She's too good not to. So it just kind of started like that. Now we've done a couple games where we continue to send Z back, but we let Bree go stop the ball. But the depth of it is different, right? Because you're bringing in, is it Delilah coming in, and now she's like, it's different than having those 4 guards that we had last year. So if I let Zakiya go to the offensive rim, she would every time. She loves that stuff, but like I just can't. Percentage-wise, Delilah should be getting more than Z, and P should be getting more than Z. But we've done it all year, probably 80% of games. And again, the other times maybe letting Bree hawk the ball when the ball gets loose.
Has Grace's offensive rebounding ability influenced that at all?
Yeah, I mean, she's – I don't know if it's directly. I just think I have confidence when you have Grace, BMAC at center going for it, Barnes at the 4, and P at the 3, and even Angela at the 4, right, and Delilah at the 3. They're all pretty strong rebounders. So that does influence that. And if we were really struggling on that, then we could unleash Z or Bree. But I mean, all that freedom, we got to be better in transition defense, Kurt. Good. Thank you, guys.